Hello and welcome to another Blu-ray update video. Yes, another Blu-ray update video. This is still July 2019 and I have another Blu-ray update video. Did I mention this is a Blu-ray update video? It's a Blu-ray update video. So this is kind of birthday money-ish acquirements, I think. A lot of stuff from Poundland, a few things from HMV, and a really interesting blind buy that I purchased a few weeks ago. So let's just dive into it. We're going to start first with the big box set, which was the blind buy. I heard about it on Blu-ray.com. There was a post about it, how it was going for a really good price on eBay. I'd never heard of these films at all, but apparently this is a fairly pricey BFI box set that for some reason was going for like 17, 18 pounds on eBay. So I thought, why the hell not? The reason I decided to pull the trigger on this one is because it is a box set of British films, certain classic British films, and I have such a meager knowledge, base on British films in general. So I thought, you know what, I could educate myself just a little bit here on, the country I'm from, or the area I'm from, and see some more British films, classic British films. So it is Woodfall, a revolution in British cinema. So I'm now, only as I record this video, noticing that there's a bit of a printing error on the front of the box set. So there's like a white stripe here, and also faded text. It seems like the text has kind of come from here and it's been printed twice but kind of faded. So I don't know whether it's like, maybe it was because there was a slight printing error that these box sets were going cheaper. I don't know. But I saw it in HMV for £60, I think. And I think it has gone down on price on Amazon since, but it seemed like a good price for 8 movies, I believe. And, 8 movies for like £18 is pretty damn good. So I did actually watch the first one. Usually with these things, I kind of, great release, haven't seen anything from it, but I can tell you one thing about one of the films. But we'll run through them very, very quickly here, rapid fire. We have The Entertainer, and I really know nothing about these films at all. The Knack, and How to Get It. Girl with Green Eyes. A lot of the actors I recognize, of course, like Peter Finch, who is phenomenal in Network. I mean, Tom Jones. I think Albert Finney's in quite a few of these. Tom Courtenay, who I bizarrely love from the film Whatever Happened to Harold Smith. Whatever happened to Harold Smith? No one talks about it. A great film, I think. The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner. Filmed by Tony Richardson. I think he's kind of a key figure in the Woodfall films. A Taste of Honey. Saturday Night and Sunday Morning. And Look Back in Anger. Now, one thing I'll say about these individual cases is that that it's nicely put together. You get kind of the cast listings on the inside and stuff, how long the movie is, what year it was produced, and black and white and stuff. They don't list on the back what special features are on each disc, which I think is a bit of an oversight. And also, some of these poster designs seem quite low resolution, or at least they're not crisp, which kind of bugs me a little bit, and I feel like they could have done a better job with that. But the box set is loaded with special features. There's a nice booklet inside as well. So you get a booklet there and all sorts of commentaries and kind of writings on each of the films presented in the box set, with some images, of course. And I believe, okay, so this is giving you a rundown of every disc. Okay, so this actually does give you a pretty comprehensive rundown of the special features, I'm assuming. Yes, okay, so there's actually a whole section dedicated to special features. So I suppose that's why, because there's so many of them. And even on the first disc, there seemed to be a fair amount of special features, and you can see on the back there that that's all the special features. So, I mean, this is a steal at £18, I think. And based on my experience with the first film, pretty damn good. So the film I watched was Look Back in Anger, starring Richard Burton. Funny fact, I did not know Richard Burton was British, nor did I know that he is, like me, Welsh. My mum was like, what? She couldn't believe I didn't know that Richard Burton was Welsh. So I just always know Richard Burton with Elizabeth Taylor. It's like that kind of Hollywood, couple legend that everyone talks about. So I haven't seen him in anything, didn't know he was Welsh. So this is my first experience of Richard Burton, and wow, what a performance he gives in this film. A very unlikable character. Claire Bloom, who I love. Oh my god, I love Claire Bloom. Limelight, one of my favorite films of all time, and she's really good in the film too. The whole cast is really good. I actually preferred, I think, the acting of the roommate, the other man in the house, with the four characters by halfway through the film. And I might do a separate video on this movie, but from what I understand, Woodfall was ushering in this, they call it kind of kitchen sink style, working class stories, kind of grittier storytelling, things like that. And I'm not quite sure about this one. It felt like the foot was still kind of in flashier filmmaking. I don't know. But there's really high points in this movie. The ending shot is phenomenal, and it looks great on Blu-ray. So honestly, I would have been okay if this was the only movie. Like, a bit pricey at £18, but I could have lived with it. So for me, I almost feel like this is worth the price of admission alone, because I really loved the performances in the film. The story, the characters, I need to grapple with a little bit more, but definitely one to watch again, so I'm really happy with that in general. So Look Back in Anger was a really good film to kind of check out, and I actually watched that the day after we moved in, I think, to the new house. So that's Woodfall. And if you know anything about these films, or any of the films that are in the box set, please let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear more about them. And the corners were slightly dinged up. It was sent in like a jiffy bag, but you take what you can get for that price. I think it's a damn good deal. So we're going to move on to some Poundland stuff. Then there's some premium collection titles at the end. So this one is a very interesting pickup for me. I can't imagine when I'd watch this again. I have seen it before, but it is Kenneth Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing. His kind of movie version of the classic Shakespeare play. So this stars Kenneth Branagh himself, of course, Richard Briers, Robert Sean Leonard, Keanu Reeves, Emma Thompson. It's a pretty damn good cast. I watched this years ago. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The reason I bought it is because it also stars Michael Keaton, who is my favorite actor of all time, and I would like to own every film that he's appeared in. I've seen every film he's appeared in. That's the only reason I watched this film. He's quite fun in this movie. And there's someone else who... Denzel Washington is in this as well. There are things about this I really liked, and I would watch it again. Probably not anytime soon, but I definitely want to grab it for the Michael Keaton collection, if that makes any sense at all. So there we go. This one I'm going to leave, actually, because I have a fair amount to say on it. This is really interesting. Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Who would have thought? So apparently, this was an out-of-print title. And this has like one of the old PlayStation 3 stickers on it. So this is a legit, sealed copy. I don't think that it's a reprint or anything. I mean, it would say on the back if there was 2008. So I don't know where this really came from, because I'd seen this in CEX for a ridiculous amount of money, and I knew that it was out of print. You could kind of get it here and there, but it's a title that wasn't around for very long. So, and I know this has been popping up in other Poundland, so I'm not sure what the deal is with this, but glad to add it to the Star Wars collection. Didn't have it. I did see this film in the cinema over 10 years ago. All I can tell you is there's a baby hut, and that's it. I went to see it in the cinema. It was okay. For the Star Wars kind of completist in me, I thought I would grab it for £2. I mean, come on. But I would be intrigued to check it out again, see what I think now, and maybe whenever I get into the actual Clone Wars series, it might be worth looking at. Next, we have a film that I was kind of intrigued by. This one. It's a film by Luc Besson, who I really like, and it's called The Lady, starring Michelle Yeoh and David Thewlis, who I really like. And just reading the back cover, the story seemed to intrigue me quite a bit. Apparently, it's is it a true story? I'm not sure, actually. It might not be, but. Yes, so it is the epic story of the peaceful quest of the woman who is at the core of Burma's democratic movement. Despite distance, long separations, and a dangerously hostile regime, their love. Okay, yeah, it's about this story between a woman and her husband. Their love endures until the very end, a story of devotion and human understanding set against a backdrop of political turmoil that continues today. So, yeah, maybe not based on a true story, but... oh, no, it is. Okay. See, I was sure I got some sort of true story impression. Yeah, on the front cover it does says based on the incredible true story. So, yeah, they just seemed like it would be a pretty decent film. So I would grab it for a couple of pounds. This one I have seen, and this is an interesting one. Okay, so this is from Stephanie Meyer, The Host, with a nice slipcover, actually. So Stephanie Meyer, who wrote the Twilight series, this is one of her other novels that came out, I think, after the Twilight books, certainly after the first Twilight novel. And I read this book, and I loved it. I thought the story was so interesting and engrossing, and yeah, there's a bit of romance in them, but I love the concept of the host and the kind of science fiction elements of this story. So I was really excited when they made a movie of it. We went to see it in the cinema. I remember thinking it was pretty good. Disappointing. There's one element of the ending I really didn't like, which does play into what happens in the book. I just didn't like the way they visualized it. But I'd like to watch this again at some point, and there's a couple of behind the scenes things I wouldn't mind checking out. William Hurt is in this, and I remember him giving a good performance. He seemed to bring that character from the book to life fairly accurately. And is the lead actress? Who's the lead actress? Is it who I think it is? Yeah, it's Saoirse Ronan. So she is one of my favorite actresses. At the time, I wasn't really aware of who she was. Now I am. So that alone would make me want to watch it as well. And go back to it, I should say. But, looking at the cover, it looks very kind of teen, young adult romance. And it is kind of, but definitely one I would like to watch again. And judge whether I want to keep it in the collection or not. This is one I really had no interest in. The cast is pretty damn good. We got Alexander Skarsgård. Hope Connie never watches this video. Samuel L. Jackson, Margot Robbie, and it is directed by David Yates, who I'm a big fan of. I think he did a great job with the final 4 Harry Potter movies. It is The Legend of Tarzan in 3D. So I'm assuming there is a 2D Blu-ray on here. Yes, there is. It came out, was not really interested, but my dad saw this and he loved it, and he's a huge Tarzan fan. He loves all like the original Tarzan movies. So I thought I'd check this out, so the next time I see him, well, probably not, but whenever I do get around to watching this, I'll be able to, the next time I see him after that, I can say whether I liked it or not. And of course, then I can just sell it on if I'm not a big fan. I think also Christoph Waltz is in this as well. Yeah, so it's a pretty damn good cast. So yeah, I really would be intrigued to check it out. Now that time has passed, I'm feeling myself drawn more to that film and giving it a shot. This one, I was intrigued based on the source material. So this is a film called Jackpot, and it is based on a story by Joe Nesbø, author of Headhunters. So Headhunters is a phenomenal film. I love that movie. It's a Norwegian thriller. And so this is a movie also based on one of the author's books. So it's a Norwegian movie, and it looks like an interesting thriller. So I definitely would like to check it out. I need to see more Norwegian films, I think. And so I definitely gravitated towards that when I picked it up off the shelf. This is another one that just has a really good cast, I think. Michelle Williams, who's fantastic. Kenneth Branagh, Eddie Redmayne. And it is My Week with Marilyn. I know very little about Marilyn Monroe, and so this could kind of maybe go away to kind of filling in some blanks. Maybe not. Maybe this is one of those films that doesn't really seek to tell the story of the person, but more... it says My Weekend with Marilyn, so I'm assuming it's more of a... See, I don't even read into these things sometimes. I just look at the talent involved and, whether £2 is a... to me, like, £2 is like a rental, from Blockbuster or whatever, and you can, I could probably make £1 back off of it, I would assume, selling it on eBay or whatever. So, but now that I'm here with, like, my whole collection, I definitely am becoming more mindful of, like, having my collection be, like, just the things I really want. So, but things like this I do kind of see almost as rentals, really, when I think about it. Poundland Blu-rays, films I've never seen before. But the next one is certainly not that. this is a keeper. This is a lifer for me. A phenomenal movie, one of the best of 2016 for me. Got it with a nice slipcover as well, which I was really happy about, just because I feel like this is a film that deserves a slipcover to make it look a little bit nicer. We have Lion. What a film. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you check it out. It was nominated for a couple of Oscars. In some categories, I think. It might have even been up for Best Picture. And it knocked me dead. It really did. Big fan of Rooney Mara. She's also one of my favorite actresses. Her role in this isn't as substantial as I would have hoped, but that's okay. I don't find her character all that interesting anyway. But this is an amazing true story. An incredible. I can't even, like, if you haven't seen it, I can't express how incredible this story is. And essentially, like, you wouldn't think it from, you know, the poster, the trailer even, but this is one part, you know, foreign film, other part, you know, I think it's actually a British movie. I'm not actually entirely sure. I think it is. But regardless, you know, the first 45 minutes of this, I think, set in India. And it's all in, you know, Indian, which I loved. It wasn't trying to, like, bring it down and everyone's speaking English for some reason. And it's about this young boy who's out with his brother, I believe. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but he's out and he gets on a train. And the train goes off and he falls asleep. And he ends up in a different part of the country. And he gets lost. And he never sees his family again. And it is heartbreaking. And the young boy who plays this person, this real-life person, the young actor who played him as a boy was phenomenal. You know, almost shades of, you know, young Apu in Path of Panchali. Not quite that much, but there's certainly like a shade of that where it's just like a really charming and believable, wide-eyed kind of kid performance, I think. And we also have Dev Patel playing the kind of young adult version of this person. Nicole Kidman gives a brilliant performance as well as the adoptive mother of this guy. I want to get his name actually, Saru. So yeah, Saru kind of gets sent off to Australia of all places, and gets adopted, and spends, you know, his kind of young adult life searching for his home again via Google Earth. And what happens at the end I won't spoil, but I mean, this film wrecked me, you know. And there are portions of this film where it is just a person sat around looking on Google Earth, but I like that. I like that they didn't try to spice it up a bit by having him go to India and like search around and make it like a road movie. It is just a guy on his laptop looking for his home, and how this obsession of finding where he came from and finding his mother again kind of, you know, it kind of throws all of his other relationships into a kind of a whirlwind. And yeah, so phenomenal movie. I highly recommend it. Lion, great film, great movie, great cinema, I think. And then there's a little bit at the end of the film that shows you kind of like the real person, and oh, that just destroyed me. Like, yeah, so anyway, that was Lion. We have a few more now. We have 4 premium collection titles from HMV. These are now buy one get one free, so they're effectively £7.50 each, and these are all in the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. The first one I have now watched, so I feel like I'm making progress now. I actually have like new titles that I've bought and actually watched before I make the Blu-ray update. This is Bad Day at Black Rock. This is a really, really good film, and I'm going to be reviewing it. Obviously, it's in the book 1001 Movies, so you can expect a proper review of this at some point, but really, really enjoyable, really entertaining. It's kind of just like a set over one day. Basically, a one-armed man gets off a train in this tiny desert town in America, and the whole town are just shook by this. The train hasn't stopped at their station in 4 years. They're all very suspicious of him, and there's a mystery to be unfolded. And the way that it does unfold is really entertaining. There's a great cast here: Robert Ryan, Walter Brennan, Ernest Borgnine, who's quite memorable in the film, Lee Marvin. So it's a damn good movie. Spencer Tracy. So really, really good. I would recommend, if you're into getting the premium collection titles, to give this one a shot, because when I first saw this, maybe a year or two ago, I think, when it first came out in the premium collection. Would have been a year ago. The cover just made it look really cheap and not very good, and I suppose that's kind of like a cover from the actual time period. But yeah, at a glance, it didn't seem like something that would draw me in, but I thought it was a great film. So whether it's a film you should see before you die, though, I'll reveal that in my proper review of the film. So we can rattle through the next two, or three even. We have Mutiny on the Bounty, with a lot of glare. This one stars the incredible Charles Lawton, who I've seen far too little of, and Clark Gable. So this was released in 1935. So this is pre Gone with the Wind, I believe. Yes, by a few years, and it is what would you even call it? It's not a war movie, or maybe it is a war movie. I'm not entirely sure. It did win the Best Picture in 1935, so it's quite a notable movie. But yeah, I mean, does it even really say what the story is? It just says, no, it doesn't really, but it's, it's a C movie. I don't know what you categorize this as. But it's one I need to watch. It's in the book. And there are two versions, actually. There's a remake with Marlon Brando. So I had to make sure that was the one that's in the book. This one is a Frank Capra movie, which is exciting because I'm a big fan of Frank Capra, if only from It's a Wonderful Life, and it is Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. So this stars Gary Cooper, who, in my hometown, there was a homeless man, a legendary, literally the stuff of legend, called Gary Cooper. He hasn't been around in a long time. I don't know what happened to him, but everyone in my local town knew Gary Cooper. And we were talking about him once, and one of my friend's dads was like, Gary Cooper used to be this classic actor. And I was like, I know about that guy. But, whenever I see that, I just think of the homeless guy who used to be in the same spot in the town centre all the time. But anyway, regardless, that's a very random aside. So we have Gary Cooper and Jean Arthur, who I believe was in Only Angels Have Wings. And I quite enjoyed her in that. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. But this is 1936. So the 1930s is... I really know very little about them, so to get a few 30s movies is really exciting for me as well. This was the winner of the 1936 Academy Award for Best Director. So yeah, it's when a small-town innocent Longfellow Deeds heads to New York to collect a $20 million inheritance and ends up as a target of ridicule thanks to Babe Bennett, the cynical reporter whose demeaning stories have made him the joke of the city. So I'm sure they're going to be completely antagonistic with each other and fall in love by the end, as all good 1930s, 1940s romantic comedy. I'm not sure if it is actually a comedy or not, if it's a screwball. Yeah, not entirely sure actually. Not that it really matters to me, but anyway, so that was that. And then finally we have another, no, it's not another one, it's a 1949. I thought it said 39. This is a James Cagney movie called White Heat. And I know absolutely nothing about it, and I'm going to leave it that way and pop it into the player and just check it out one day. So there we go. I'm not sure if there's any substantial special features on these. One of them, okay, this is actually interesting, on the White Heat Blu-ray. This has a Leonard Maltin hosts Warner's Night at the Movies, 1949, with a newsreel, a comedy short, So You Think You're Not Guilty, a cartoon, Homeless Hair, and theatrical trailers. So what I am imagining here is that there's a special feature on this disc where Leonard Maltin introduces a 1949 newsreel, a short comedy film, a cartoon, theatrical trailers, and then you can watch the main feature. And I might try that out because I think that's a really cool idea, and I'd love to kind of maybe transport myself to 1949 for a little bit. And the final movie is a movie I have seen, and I want to rewatch quite a bit actually, because I think it's a really, really good film. I thought it was really touching and heartbreaking and gripping, but everyone else seems to think it's like this masterpiece, like one of the best films of the decade, and I'm not quite sure that it is. But it's still a film I definitely had to own, and I do want to watch it again. And I wonder if I now know where it goes, I'm going to have to see it differently, because there is a twist in this movie, and it is from Hirokazu Koreeda, the recent film Shoplifters. So this was this went down in price on Amazon, so I thought I'd grab it quickly, and add it to my my Koreeda collection. So was it Koreeda? Koreeda. Anyway, I got hung up on the pronunciation at one point, once upon a time, because I've been reviewing some of his films over the past year or so, and I've really been getting into his movies in a big bad way. So you'll be hopefully soon seeing all my reviews of Koreeda's movies. But this is a really interesting film about a very unique family unit with some incredible actors, including, sadly, the late, let me get her name correct. It was on the tip of my tongue and it's completely gone. But she's a Koreeda kind of mainstay. She was great in Still Walking, and she recently passed away. And the cast list is so small, I can barely. Kirin Kiki, of course. Lily Frankie is great in this as well, but you know, really, really solid cast and really touching film with. Okay, I got cut off there because the memory card was full. So I think I was saying that it's a great cast. It's a very touching story, and there is quite a big twist. So sometimes you choose your family, it says on the front. I think that's a very accurate summary of the story. But there we go. That has been my Blu-ray update. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below on any of the films I've mentioned, and I will mercifully see you in the next one.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.